With international travel returning back to normal, a lot of people have either just renewed their passports or getting one for the first time and are now ready to go out and explore other parts of the world. But what happens if your passport were to get lost or stolen? What are the steps you need to take? Well, in this video, I'm going to share exactly what you need to do if this happens to you. And be sure to stick around at the end of the video where I'll show some tips on how you can keep your passport safe. Let's go.
Dream vacations start here.
So I'm going to break the video into two parts. The first part is going to be how to report your lost or stolen passport. And then the second part is going to be directions on how to replace a passport that has been lost or stolen. And then I'll leave you with some tips at the end. So let's start with the first part, how to report your lost or stolen passport. The first and probably most important step to make is to make sure your passport is actually lost or stolen, because once you report it, your passport becomes invalid and you will not be able to use it again, even if you find it later. So you want to make sure you've exhausted locating your passport before you go on to the next step, which is to report it lost or stolen. Once you have determined that your passport cannot be located, or you know for sure that it has been stolen, you'll need to report it. If you're still in the US and haven't traveled yet, you have three options. The first option is online. You'll need to go to travel.state.gov and fill out a DS-64 form to report a lost or stolen passport, or you can find a link for it in the video description. You can also use the form filler on the website to help you fill out the form, and the good thing about using this is that it will create both a report of the lost or stolen passport as well as an application to reapply for a new passport, which is the DS-11 form, since it will require the same kind of information from you. As I said before, once you report your passport as lost or stolen, it becomes invalid and you will have to apply for a new one, which I'll cover in the next section. The second option to report a lost or stolen passport is to print out a DS-64 form, fill it out, sign it, and then mail it to the address on the form. And the third option is to call toll-free at the number at the bottom of the screen. If you are already out of the country and need to report your passport lost or stolen, contact the nearest U.S. Embassy or consulate for assistance, and I'll link a directory of the U.S. embassies and consulates by country down in the show notes. Ask to speak to a consular section to report your passport lost or stolen. If you have been the victim of a serious crime, be sure to tell a consular officer about it as soon as possible so that they can provide appropriate assistance. If you are scheduled to leave the foreign country shortly, you'll need to provide the consular staff with the details of your travel, and they will make every effort to assist you quickly. You'll also be directed to where you can obtain a photo for your replacement passport. In most cases, you'll need to get a passport photo prior to your arrival at the consular section. So let's now move on to the second section, which is how to replace your lost or stolen passport. If you're still in the US when your passport becomes lost or stolen, you'll need to fill out a DS-11 form in person. If you're traveling in 5 to 7 weeks or less, then you may be eligible to make an appointment in person at a passport agency or center to replace your passport. However, to go to a passport agency center, you must be traveling internationally in the next 14 calendar days. If you are in the US and are traveling in more than 5 to 7 weeks, then just make an appointment to apply at a passport acceptance facility to replace your passport. If you're outside of the US, then you'll need to contact the nearest US embassy to replace your passport. So what do you need to replace your passport while overseas? There are a number of documents you should take with you to the embassy or consulate. And just note, even if you're unable to present all the documents I'm about to show you, the embassy is going to work with you to get your passport replaced quickly. Here are the documents you should bring with you if you have them. A passport photo. You're going to need one so that you can get a replacement passport, so it's best to get this done before you head to the embassy. A driver's license or expired passport. Evidence of U.S. citizenship. This can be a birth certificate or a photocopy of your passport. So a quick tip for you, always take pictures of your passport so that you have a copy of it in case you run into this very situation. A travel itinerary, and this can be airline or train tickets, and a police report. And just note that a police report is not mandatory, but it can help confirm the circumstances of your loss or theft. However, don't spend time getting a police report if it's going to cause you to miss a flight or delay your travel. So once you have turned in this information along with the DS-64 and DS-11 forms, and don't worry, you can fill out these forms at the embassy is going to issue you a replacement passport. Replacement passports are good for the normal 10 years. However, if you have urgent travel plans, they can issue you an emergency passport that can be produced more quickly to allow you to return to the US or continue on your trip. Once you return home, you can turn in your emergency passport and receive a full passport. Normal passport fees do apply for replacement passports. However, if you are the victim of a serious crime or disaster and are unable to pay for the passport fee, then the fee can be waived until you return back to the US, where you will be expected to pay for the replacement passport. So as promised, here are some tips to help keep your passport safe. Tip number 1, keep your passport hidden. Pickpocketers can usually spot a tourist fairly easily, and so you definitely don't want to be showing where you keep your passport, credit cards, and cash at. I recommend getting a travel neck pouch like this one that you can tuck inside your shirt and that you can hide your documents and credit cards in. I'll link to some options down in the show notes for you to check out. Tip number 2, only take out your passport when you have to. Only display it to officials who request it and then quickly put it away. Tip number 3, have a backup. As I mentioned before, take pictures of your passport and send them to a friend or relative in case you end up losing both your passport and your phone when traveling. Tip number 4, keep it safe. When you stay at a hotel, use the room safe to store your passport. You can also use a TSA approved travel lock to secure your valuables in your suitcase as well. And if you found this video helpful, check out some of these other videos as well. Just click or tap the screen to view them. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.